Okay, everyone, we are here at the Flyer Podcast. We are here interviewing Flyers alumni, former Flyer Brian Propp. Brian, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I just went fishing with my daughter early in the morning in Sea Isle and had a lot of success with that.
Oh, that sounds very fun. How's the fishing been down the shore, like during this whole stages?
Well, it's been really good because I have to know where the spots are, so I keep moving. But now like the flounder are kind of going in the ocean, so I have to just be a little bit carry with the weather and see what Then I'll go in the ocean and get some flounder.
Man, that sounds very nice. So, like we're gonna talk about like the beginnings of your career. So you were drafted by the Flyers 14th overall back in the 1979 draft, and the draft was definitely way different back then than it was now. So like, what was it like being drafted just into the Flyers organization?
Well, at that time, I didn't really follow hockey that much. I mean, my when I was 15, I played for the Melville Millionaires in Saskatchewan, and I won the MVP of the league that year. I broke the scoring that year with the Melville Millionaires. So I tell people at least I was a millionaire once. And then the 3 years before that, then I was with Brandon Wheat Kings, and we had powerful teams in Brandon. And Brad McCrimmon and Ray Allison with me the last 3 years, and then Bill DeLego and Laurie Boschman and Glenn Hanlon, Dave Semenkin were all there. We had tough teams, but we didn't lose that much. Our coach was Dunk McCollum. He played 15 years in the NHL. And so he taught us how to get ready to play pro. So I know my last year in Brandon, I won the MVP of the whole league and the scoring. And the year before that, I won the scoring there too. But I was a good player, but I was two-way, and so that's why the Flyers looked at me, and I was really happy. I didn't know I got drafted. I was working on the farm, and they called me, and so I was really happy that I got them to the Philadelphia Flyers.
And just like throughout your career with the Flyers, you were on a lot of very good teams. And like when your teams went to the finals, you sadly went up against a ton of dynasties that were in the NHL. You went up against the Islanders, the Oilers, and it's just like Chris, I know you watched a lot of those games on NHL Network, and they make you very mad just
Yeah,
watching
there's,
those replays. So
I,
just
yeah. I mean, it's weird because it just seems like that all they play is just like Flyers losses. So I'm kind of used to it at this point. But yeah, it's tough. It definitely is.
yeah. So
Yeah, but
Brian,
it's really tough to get there in the finals. We were there. My first 13 years, I was in the playoffs, consecutive 13 years, and then I lost. And then the last couple of years, like I was at Hartford and Minnesota. So but I was in the playoffs every year, and but I played with Bob Clark and Reggie Leach at the start, and then Bill Barber, and we went with Kenny Linsman and Paul Holmgren, and then we switched after 20 games. But having a great player like a Bob Clark. I have aphasia, so I have had a stroke, so like I get mixed up with words here and there. But so just be aware of that. And but with a great leader like Bob Clark, he did so much, and he taught me. But I played in the Western Hockey League where he played in Fling Flong, so we knew that we were the same player. Like we practiced hard, we never gave up. We played like we meant to it, and for me it was so good because you know the first year I played with Clark and Leach for 20 games, and then I remember the first game, like we played against the Islanders, and Bill Smith, I scored against him, game winner, and I got an assist, and we won the game. And then so I was used to playing winning all the time in Brandon. In Brandon, we only lost 5 games that whole season, and then the second game, we lost 9-2, and I was like, oh my God, is this what the NHL is going to be like? And then we went 35 without a loss, which is still a record today, which is I'm very proud of.
And what was it just like going up against teams like the Oilers, like with Wayne Gretzky and that entire dynasty, like facing them twice during your career? What were there any differences going into each of those series, or was it just like I'm playing against the best team basically in the world?
Well, at that time, like in the early 80s, like the Islanders were just coming on, and that's why it was number one against number 16. So that's why we played against the Islanders in the finals. And then they switched the conferences, and so it made it much tougher because we played against the Islanders and Boston and Montreal, and so we had a tough way getting out of the division. But the Oilers were really tough in the mid 90s, 80s, like from 85 on. Like, and Gretzky started in 79, like me, but they learned how to win. But they had like all these great players in the Hall of Fame in their prime, and Grand Prix. So, but we still got there to 85 and 89. But unfortunately, Pelle Lundberg died in 85. He was one of the best goalies in the league at that time. We could have won a couple of cups like we thought. But then of course, you have to deal with you have. And then Hextall came in 87 and he won the Conn Smythe but he played so good, and we played so many games against the finals that we played 26 games in 28 games, and the Oilers just only lost, like they only had only lost a couple, and then we forced them to Game 7, which a lot of people here are proud of what we accomplished.
Yeah, that's just like amazing. I wasn't born until '98, so I didn't get to experience those dynasties back in like the early '80s, the mid '80s, and then now we're like transitioning into the newer NHL where dynasties are very hard to come by. So like, what have you like seen in the newer type of NHL where it's transitioning into that speed and skill type of game rather than like the hard hitting, the fighting constantly?
Yeah, so like in the 80s, that's where I played. In the 90s, it was physical, but you knew what you had to do, and that was why we had so many teams that played a lot of years together because they didn't know what they were making, and so we didn't get paid that much. Like I remember my first 3 years, I made 50, 55, and 60,000. And then I went up to 75, 80, and 90,000. So after 6 years, I didn't make 100,000. And so like it changes a lot after that. But now the guys are, the game has changed the last couple of years where it's faster and there's not too much hitting, not too many fights, and so it's that's just the way you have to adapt. And like there's a lot of people in the world want to play hockey in the NHL. So there's a lot of countries that are all trying to get in the NHL. So but it's tough to win a championship because they're so even, and but I think the Flyers, I like what they're doing, like the last year especially, where they've got the good coaching, and they're consistent, and they've got everybody there, like, and of course to have two good goalies like a Hart and Elliott that can carry you, because that's what you need. You need a hot goalie that's going to carry you. Like the defense is young, but they're really good, and the veterans are doing really well, and the younger guys are. So it's a complete team that the Flyers have. And, they don't get worn out like after third periods, and so that's good for them.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny too because and just going back to what Amadeo said about being born in the late '90s. I was born in 2003, so I've never really seen like a complete Flyers team, and that was really until this season. But Brian, but one thing I wanted to go back to was playing in Hartford. How was that playing in Hartford, and are you able to like explain to us like what that was like playing only the 1 year there?
Yeah, well, so that was kind of the end of my career, and so like I was a free agent, and Paul Holmgren brought me in as a tryout, and so I made the team, and then because I wanted to get 1,000 points in 1,000 games, the points, and games. So like that was my goal, and so like I got that at the end. It took a little time, but I'm very proud of that. I have had 425 goals and 479 assists and 1,004 points in 1,016 games, and that's tough to get there. And I had a couple of injuries. I've had a hand surgery that I missed most of the time, 25 games, and then another one, a knee, and then an eye, and a couple other things. So that all adds up, and dislocated shoulder, that takes some time, but just fought through. So, but I was really proud. And that year I was playing with Brad McCrimmon and Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger was a rookie. He was just signed at the last center, and but I'll never forget where at the end of my career, like I scored 2 goals against the Flyers at the end of the season to get in the playoffs, and then it was my 999th and 1,000th point, which was pretty amazing for all the fans that I knew that were in the Spectrum. I was really happy to get that, but not so good for the Flyers at that time. But Hartford was. It was different because it was a smaller rink. They played in a mall, and so. But it doesn't really matter where you are. Like you have to contribute and be a good player. Otherwise, you're going to be left away.
Yeah, definitely. And just like going to the team right now, like since you're at a lot of Flyers games throughout like each season with the alumni and all that. So like what have you seen from the Flyers this season in regards to previous when they were like going through stretches of mediocrity? Like what's different with the team this year than in previous?
Yeah, so I think with the coaching makes a big difference. Like the coaches, like they have to be on the top players, and they don't let them get away with things, and be more they're more consistent. Like you said, like they win 10 in a row and then they lose up to 10, and it's like that's not consistent. So you have to be really consistent, and which the Flyers have really been doing. But with having a Hart as the goalie and Elliott, especially the home games. Made a big difference because he played so well in the first periods. They got outshot a lot of times, but then they settled in, and then that's why they won all those games in the home.
And just going into this like playoff format, since it's like a 24 team this time, since we're like in such a weird transition into coming back into hockey, how do you think this 24 team playoff format favors the Flyers, or do you think it could hurt the Flyers? Like, what do you think it does to them?
No. Although the Flyers are in the top 4 in the division, so like it's like it's a bye for them. Like like Pittsburgh and Montreal has to play against another team, so you have to win. Then that takes a toil. But then they're going to reseed the 4 games, 4 players, 4 teams, and then so like they'll be fresh. And so like they won't have to worry about it. It's sort of like football, like where you have to get a bye, and then that gives you a little more time to win. But it gives the Flyers an advantage this year.
And do you think with the fact that we're not going to have any fans in the arena, do you think just the fact that every team's going to be on an even playing field, the fact that maybe some teams favor home ice more than road ice, do you think everyone now is on an even playing field since they're all in one arena?
I think so, but but look at the way the arena, all the rinks are built now. Like they're all the same. So it's not it's a lot different. Like when we played the Spectrum, people were afraid of us. But in the Wells Fargo Center, like they're not afraid as much anymore. The players are consistent. It's tougher to win at home. But the fans really make a difference. So it'll be different without the fans be there, but you still have to win, and you concentrate for what you have on hand. So like you have to prepare the right way, and even if the fans aren't there, like it'll be weird, but as long as they win, they won't care.
Yeah, and Chris and me have basically been stating like throughout like each episode like how we Flyers probably benefit more from the round robin just because with the whole reseeding thing, they really don't have anything to lose because they won't.
No.
The only thing they can do is benefit from it.
Yeah,
And
and honestly, I think the biggest thing is because they were already in fourth. I mean, and really they can do no worse than fourth, so it's perfect for them. I mean, honestly, I like all three of the teams that they got to play. Like they're all going to be tough games. I can see them going 3-0. I can see them going 0-3. I mean, that's how good all the other three teams are, and that's the same with the Flyers. So it's going to be tough. But Brian, like, so how do you think the Flyers are going to do in the round robin, and like what seed do you think they'll be in?
Yeah, so to me, it doesn't really matter because like you playing against the best players, and so like when you win, even if a bye, you reseed, and then so you figure out from there. But it doesn't really make a difference at that time. Like they're in, a couple other teams will be gone, and so it gives them an advantage because like some of these guys could get hurt, and you know what it's like if you have a major player hurt. I know that when we were with the Flyers in 80's and like in 87 and 85, in 85 we lost Brad McCrimmon, and in 87 we lost Tim Kerr, and Mark Howe played hurt, and Dave Poulin was hurt, and Ilka was hurt. It was tough because we had the top players in the league hurt, and the Oilers are like kind of breezed through us. So as long as they're healthy, like I think that they'll be consistent. And but one thing I can say is that for a guy like a Voracek and a Giroux, they have to be better in the playoffs as far as scoring, because it's easy to be a passer. It's tougher to be to score the goals. And so like you have to be in the right position to score more consistently for to win the series.
And since you were at every Flyers game majority of the season, who do you think could be like one of the more, I wouldn't say dark horses, who do you think is like the most important player besides, I would say, the obvious of like the Giroux and the Voraceks? Like who do you think is more important?
Well, take Couturier. I mean, he's like in the finals for the and so but he both plays both ends of the wind, and he's a good scorer, consistent. He's smart, and he goes to the front of the net, and so like I really like what he has going on, right now as a top leader.
And just like for the younger guys that are on the team, guys like Travis Konechny, Ivan Provorov, like how big do you think this playoff is for these guys to get their names fully out there, to make their name in the NHL?
Yeah, so like it's really important because you don't get in the playoffs all the time. I mean, I was in 5 Stanley Cup Finals, which was pretty amazing, but. I learned that when the playoffs get started, my first year we went to the finals, and then we lost a couple years against the Rangers, and so I learned from that, to get much better. And so you might take a little time, but you have to learn. But hopefully they'll learn a little faster. And then I played for Team Canada at the World Championships a couple times, and then I was in the '87 Canada Cup, and so I had a lot of experience. But to go into the finals in 80, 85, and 87, it made a big difference for me because I had to produce, and to get into the finals is tough, but to be consistent and playing that way. So that's where a guy like Konechny and Provorov need to kind of shine.
And what do you think now that the Flyers, because the entire history with the team, they just can't find that goaltender to stay there and last long. And Chris, you've been a fan since 2014. You haven't seen one stable goaltender. I haven't seen a stable goaltender my entire life either. Carter Hart is the only guy that we know is going to be the stable guy. I've lived through guys like Steve Mason and Tara Ninamaki, and just like a bunch of different guys over and over. So what's it like knowing that the Flyers have a future goaltender that can stay with them the entire time in Carter Hart?
Well, it's really, really, really important because that's what they were building on. And it's sort of like Bernie Pront, like I talk with him all the time, and I was an ambassador with Bernie and Dave Schultz the last 5 years, and so I love that, going every home game and visiting the fans and visiting suites in the first period. But I really like what Hart does. He's so good with the media. He's at a young age. He's 21, and he answers questions really well, and he's a leader. Like at 2021, he's really a good leader, and but he backs it up by the way he played and last year, and hopefully he continues like that way, and hopefully we'll win. The Flyers will win a Stanley Cup.
And how big do you think these playoffs are for Carter Hart? Just like this is his first time in it, so how do you think it's going to pan out for him?
Yeah, but it's not only him, but it's the team. So I know that in the 80's we had great teams like Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon and Bob Clark and Reggie Leach and McLeish and Barber and then Poulin and Kerr. So we had good leaders, and that's what you need. It doesn't matter. You can't blame a goalie because you have to play as a team. And in the 80's, we played as a team. Like we probably gave up more points for being selfish, not selfish. And so that's why the Flyers draft the players that are character people. So that's why the Flyers are always successful with the character players that we have. So it's not only Hart, he'll have a tough time at the start, but you need the right save at the right time.
Definitely. And are you more of a prediction man to see like what's going to happen during the playoffs, or are you just like going to watch and see what happens at this point?
I think I'm just going to wait and see, because it could be different, like you said, without fans, and like you might just have to watch the games and find out what the score is, So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, and me and Chris have been talking about, like, Chris said he's already has his beach chair set up on Broad Street because because the team just feels that different. Like, there hasn't been, I feel like, that much hype in a team in a while.
Yeah.
And Chris would notice especially.
Yeah. I mean, this team kind of gives me the vibes of when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, when the Phillies won the World Series in 08. Like, it just gives me that feeling. And I honestly think that, I personally right now can't really give my true assessment on how I think the teams are going to play and stuff like that until I see the first game that everyone plays. Once I see that game, I'll kind of have it narrowed down a little bit. But I mean, anyone can win it. I mean, I can see any of these 24 teams winning it. I mean, really, whoever gets the momentum is probably going to go pretty far.
Yeah, but think about the coaching too, like how different that was. I mean, the new coach and the penalty kill. The penalty kill has been much better. Plus, they haven't been taking that many penalties. Again, and they're tough to play against the Flyers. Like they force all the time, and so then they're in front of these people all the time, and they don't let up, and so
they're very aggressive.
It's for us to play against them. I mean, that's why how good they are, but that's why they're coached so well. And even with the penalty kill, they've done a good job with that, with Hart and the what's the new coach, the guy,
Vigneault.
No, the player. What's the center iceman?
Kevin Hayes.
Yeah, Kevin Hayes. Yeah, he made a big difference too. Because he was talkable, and he's a leader with a team, and that all makes a big difference. Look, he scored a couple of shorthanded goals, and when you needed it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Kevin Hayes has been an amazing addition to this team, where people thought his contract was a little too much, but he's been proving that he's been worth that contract. And just going back to the coaching staff, like how you said, coaching is a really important thing. How do you think Alain Vigneault has done in his first year as Flyers head coach? He was nominated for the Jack Adams.
Yeah. Well, he's done a wonderful job. I mean, like, just think about the experience that those three coaches have. I mean, they've been around a long time. That's why the Flyers picked them. You know, to be the, like, to give them a chance, like, to win a Stanley Cup. And it's just I really like what they have set up right now, like with the coaching and with the players, and it seems like the players are a lot closer, which is means a lot. They play for each other rather than just individually. So that's what I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And hopefully we can see playoff action, and it's next week. The first exhibition game is against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So just like Brian, going back towards your career, like what would you say, like, because I know you were talking about like getting your 1,000th point, like that was like the one big goal for you at the end of your career. Like what was probably the most memorable part of your NHL career with any team?
So probably in 1980, I was a rookie, so probably didn't recognize that I could have been a little bit better. But in '85, without Brad McCrimmon there, uh, it was tough because we were outnumbered against the Oilers. And then '87, I just remember that probably the best game I played was Game 5 in Edmonton, where I had 4 assists in the game we lost, and we won the game 4-3. And then Game 6, of course, like when I scored to tie it with 6 minutes left, to tie it at 2-2, and then JJ scored with a couple minutes after that to force a game to 7. Game 5, probably the best that I played in the playoffs, one game, and then Game 6, tying scoring the tie goals, and of course doing a Gffa. Of course, if you guys probably don't know what a Gffa is, do you?
No, I don't think I know what that is.
No, I don't. I've seen the videos of you doing it though, and it's funny when I told my mom that you were coming on, it was the first thing she did. Like she did it and everything. It was great.
Gffa, right? Well, it means a hearty laughter. I got it from Howie Mandel, and I used to see his shows in Atlantic City in the early '80s with a friend of mine, Scott McKay. And so I really liked. He was funny, and he did a couple things. And so I copied him doing the Gffa. So I just wanted some excitement, like in the mid '80s when I score a goal. So my first game, like when I scored, I did the Gffa, and then Keenan said, "What are you doing? Don't ever do that again." I said, "Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm going to keep scoring and doing it the Gffa." So I trademarked the Gffa. And I have that all set up now. I had T-shirts and hats,
Yeah.
but now, yeah, and just so you guys know, like I just got my own Gffa brand cigars from. So like I have 425 boxes of 10. They're a special edition, numbered, and special prize in them. So there'll be like 140 for 10, which isn't too bad, but there'll be keepers, and so if people want to go to my Brian Propp website, they can go to the link and see what the Gffa cigars are. They're made from the Dominican Republic, and I'm licensing. I did the licensing agreement with Vivente Cigars, so that way I don't have to worry about the tobacco rules. And so, but everything's going to be online, and so if anybody wants to get they're really good, because I just had one. So if they want to order that, they can go to my Brian Propp website.
Yeah, definitely. People who are listening to this episode, go to that link if you want to try out some of the Gffa cigars from Brian Propp. That's really great. And then I want to get into like the charity events that you do. So like specifically, like you do 2 charity games throughout the year, like one of the bigger ones for the WCRA Foundation. And I just want to know, because I know my father participates in those charity games as well, the one in the spring and the one during the fall. So like for the people like who don't know like what those are, like could you explain like to people listening like what those games are for?
Yeah. Yeah, so I work with Wolf Commercial Real Estate. I'm a broker, so I have my license. I've been doing that for the last 5.5 years. But we came up with the idea of doing a celebrity hockey event, which we've done last 4 years for Wolf Commercial Real Estate. It's at Voorhees Skate Zone, and there's a party after at Victory Bar after that. But it helps the 6 charities that we support to make some money. And so the last year, like we raised 80,000 for the hockey game. Split up the charity of the 6 charities. That really goes a long way. But what we did is, I have the 6 former alumni and 2 teams and 4 goalies, and the teams are split up so that everybody gets to play with a celebrity, tell a couple of good stories, and hang out and give back. And so, one of them was for Wolf Commercial Real Estate, and another one that I've done is for MS Research Institute in Philadelphia. So, and I did the same thing where I have 6 former alumni, split up the team between, that year we made 40,000 for the MS Research Institute, and these are the people that need the help with the MS. And then for Wolf, we give a lot back. And then we also have our golf tournament is going to be September 17th at Ramble Red. That's close to being sold out, but we raise another 40,000 for the golf. And so these are things that I've been doing the last 6 years, just with all the things that I've done. I still love playing hockey and golf, and the charities that giving back makes a big difference. But can you imagine the 6 charities making like 10,000 net, for all the things that we've done?
Yeah, definitely. And Chris, you're gonna like this one memory that I have, because like I said, my dad participates in these charity games like the past couple of years. And when we were at the Victory restaurant, yeah, I remember, you remember the game where Voracek got the suspension after the Islanders in 20. So it was Voracek comes into the restaurant and no one knows why. Then he tells a bunch of people off the loudspeaker, "Oh, I got suspended," and everyone just freaked out. Everyone freaked out.
Yeah, but that was for MS Research Institute, which and I talked with Jake a day ago, because I need a couple sticks for him, because I'm playing hockey again with my morning hockey leagues at Pensacola Skate Zone. So I need a couple new sticks, and so he responded pretty fast, which is nice. But his sister has MS. And so, he supported that. He wrote a nice check for MS Research Institute, which goes a long way. And I think that in Philadelphia, the doctor that's there, he's getting close to a cure for it. So, all that work pays off.
That's great. And Brian, So one thing I wanted to go back to was Mike Keenan. Is there anything you could tell us about him, or any stories from the locker room?
Yeah, well, he was pretty fiery. When he first started in 85, well, a lot of us didn't really know what was going on. He was he college, and that was about it, and then he turned pro. But he was a winner, and that year we had Tocchet, Mallenby, Zezel, and Smith as rookies. And, they learned pretty fast, especially in 85 when Pelly died. They had to learn how to deal with that. I know Zezel was, pretty, he was quiet, but he got affected by things that helped him to happen to him. And at that time, I was 6 years in the league. And so with Dave Poulin and myself and Mark Howe, we knew how to deal with death a little bit easier. But it actually made our team a lot closer because Tim Kerr was there, and Sutters, and all these good leaders, and Brad McCrimmon. So Keenan, he was really good about putting all the team for the next 2 weeks at his house, and having lunch and talking, and just staying close. And so like I'll never forget that. But he used to yell a lot, and like I was always one of the guys that was really quiet, but I just smirked at him, and so like he hated that because like I smirk, because I knew what I had to do, and so like if he yelled at me all the time, but I didn't really care because I was a good player and I didn't get affected by that. Where meanwhile, like other guys would see me and go like, "What the heck is that?" But yeah, every once in a while you have to tell her to f off. Just he probably liked that. He looked at the challenge of it. It's how you have to stand up for yourself. But there's other good stories like Mellenby. He went home for Thanksgiving and then he got roasted because he drank too much, and then he said he was heavy, and so like Keenan had a lot of good things to say or bad stuff to say, but the nice thing about what he did was that even if I got talked on in front, like he'd call me to the office the day after and apologize or let us know what was going on. So that's why I loved what he had to offer. He wanted to win every game. That's what I loved, but we led most of the time. We had good goalies, and of course, having McCrimmon and Howe, didn't help. It helped so much because they're plus 85 and 87. So, being a plus player, it means a lot because in my career, in the history for forwards, I'm number 10 all the time, plus minus. That's just because, you have to be a good player, and plus minus, I'm plus 30, 310. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I wanted to go back to was the 1980 team with the 35 wins. Like, how was that? Like, how did you guys even like to me, like that's just bizarre. Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, so like it happened like I said in my second day game, and we lost 9-2, and then we went 35 without a loss. But it was having a balanced team. We had tough teams like Ben Wilson and Glenn Cochran, or Dave, Bob Daly, and tough guys like that, Frank Mouth, and but we had a skilled team. We had four lines that Pat Quinn had, and we ran it really well. And we like that year was Pete Peters was a rookie, and then Phil Muir was a backup, and so nobody knew what was going to happen because Bernie got hurt the year before, and so we weren't sure what was going to happen, but with Pete as a rookie and me as a rookie, we kept going and better and. But I'll never forget, like in the when it was 20 games into it, and so like it was pretty amazing. It was starting to get noticed that hey, everyone wanted to beat us, and when it kept going and going and going and going, and then when we finally broke the record, it was in Boston where they didn't lose too often, and then we kept going for another 7 games, and so 35 and amazing. Like we were in January before we lost the second game.
Yeah, it's crazy too. And one thing about that too was like that game versus Minnesota, it was tied, and then like I don't remember exactly what happened. You definitely obviously know more, but wasn't it tied and then they just scored again and again and again, and it just kind of went on from there?
Well, I think they had like 6 power play goals.
Yeah, so, yeah, that was what it was.
You know what? At that time, like it was just like we wanted to win all the time, but then we continued to keep winning. So like our motto was to never lose 2 in a row, and so like that keeps you going in front of it. But still the 35 without a loss that's pretty amazing, and I'm proud of all the guys that are there. Unfortunately, Bucky. Died with cancer like today from a Flyers alumni, and so sorry to see him. He was 68.
Yeah, definitely, and prayers go out to him and his family. But Brian, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. And for people that are listening to this, where can people go to follow you on social media?
Yeah, so like my Instagram, I think is Brian Propp 26, and Twitter's like Gffa 26, and my Brian Propp website. And then for my work, I work with Wolf Commercial Real Estate, so wolfcre.com. And I'm also the ambassador for Bancroft or brain injury people because I had a massive stroke 5 years ago, like where I couldn't talk, I couldn't use my right side. I still have a problem with my fingers, but my speech has come back a long way. So bancroft.org could also, they could follow that because we have a big gala, and then we have a golf tournament September 25th. I work with that, and so I try to give back, for other people, and people have strokes and brain injuries. Like I take them to the galley, and I talk with them all the time because we're pretty fortunate that it's not as bad as it could be now.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much, Brian, for joining us here on the Fired Up podcast. We know you probably have to be somewhere right now, so we're not going to keep you waiting any longer. So thank you for joining us, Brian.
Thank you, guys. Good job.
Thank you.